track reviews.
Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it is time for a track review. Haven't done one of these in a minute, but the last one I believe was Gorillaz, and we are coming back to talk about Gorillaz again because the forthcoming album, The Mountain, it's dropping in March, and we have another taste of the record, and the previews so far have certainly been interesting. As I've talked about before, first we had The Happy Dictator, which featured none other than progressive pop weirdos Sparks, who are still very much at it today, a duo you should be well aware of if you're watching this channel. Well, their tie-in with Damon Albarn and company was really interesting, not only due to the dreamy background vocals they provided on the track, but also the direction the song was pointing in narratively and conceptually in terms of what seemed like painting the point of view of some kind of like dictator, spiritual cult leader of some sort. Then following that, we had the much lengthier and meatier The Manifesto, which wasn't as intriguing conceptually as it was instrumentally and aesthetically, because if you look at the list of features and the promo material and album art on this record, it's very clear that there's going to be like some prime South Asian influences musically going on throughout this record. And The Manifesto most definitely brought not only that, but like some hip hop vibes and Latin pop vibes too. It was like really all over the place in terms of just all the various strains and musical styles and cultures colliding together on this track, but somehow most of it worked. But for the next taste that we have from this upcoming album, we've got The God of Lying, which is the trimmest single yet at 3 minutes and 9 seconds, and features none other than UK punk and post-punk phenomenons Idols, which is a pretty exciting crossover to say the least. And undoubtedly with that song title, we are going to once again be dealing with, I don't know, some kind of like spiritual or religious crisis. But before we listen to the track, I will say I am still very much excited for this album, even though these have not necessarily been my most favorite Gorillaz singles in the entire catalog so far, just because the feature list is so freaking stacked with not only Black Thought, but posthumous recordings of legends like Bobby Womack too. But everything we've been hearing and seeing coming out from this record so far has been so deeply conceptual and narrative oriented. And in terms of storytelling and world building, love it or not, The Mountain may go down as one of Gorillaz' most ambitious projects yet. So let's get a sense of how The God of Lying might fit into that here by giving it a listen. Okay, we done did that. That's the track. I will say again, and I think this has to be intentional because it has been the case for all the songs so far, but like not a very catchy track. These singles so far have just not felt very singly. Even The Manifesto felt like maybe 2 or 3 different songs kind of just being piled on top of each other and presented in a 7-minute monster of a moment. But while this track did have maybe a bit more of a tighter structure and a very kind of lazy, laid-back chorus sung by 2D, of course, the quirky, synthy electronic drums and instrumentation just came across like so thin, so cartoony. There's not really a point here where the beat like really kicks in and you're feeling that bass and the instrumentation gets bigger or brighter. And again, I do think that is intentional because all these tracks so far, and again, reading deeper into some of these song titles too, each moment I've heard from this record feels less like a standout song, a standout tune, and more like a chapter in a book or something. And I would say that's almost especially the case for this track, with Joe Talbot providing a very dour, very low-key, sung/spoken performance, presenting a lot of bars and thoughts that may cause the listener to question whether or not they may have been lied to about an afterlife or something like that, which, you know, might be a resurgence of Reddit atheism, or, you know, could be in character in a greater story on the record. I presume the latter is probably the case. But yeah, without going over every single lyric, the song seems to mostly be about getting caught up in a false promise, spiritual factually speaking. And it seems like the instrumentation and song structure are being pared down and toned down a little bit on purpose to make the listener just focus more on the message. So if these singles and the rest of this record continue to play out as they have thus far, I think this is going to be a really interesting album for Gorillaz fans, and maybe create a bit of a split among the listener base between those who basically just want to casually enjoy Gorillaz as this weird left field alternative pop institution, and those who really enjoy the storytelling and world building element of the Gorillaz brand, because it really seems like that is being leaned into hard this time around. And while I'm open to the possibility that maybe the super catchy tracks and the bangers, those are going to be the deep cuts or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. That could be the case, but usually on any given Gorillaz album cycle, Damon has historically leaned with his catchiest and most memorable moments on a record first. I see no reason why he would withhold the moments that might really pop commercially. But yeah, another interesting one to say the least. A track that, mind you, I'm not in love with, but given the framing and the vibes of everything so far, it's a track that if I do love it, it's most likely going to be because it's bolstered by the narrative and the energy and the progression of all the other songs surrounding it. There you go. Let me know your thoughts, of course, on this track in the comments down below. I'm sure you will. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Gorillaz forever.